All right, good morning. Thank you so much for being here with us, whether you're here live or watching this recording later. I'm Susanna, and I'm here with my colleague Crystal, and we are going to talk about using Book Connections as a tool for Readers Advisory today. I'm going to start off by telling you a little bit about Book Connections. Hopefully you're already familiar with the site, but if you're not, Book Connections is a constantly expanding collection of digital resources and tools that are intended to help all readers connect equitably with the books they're reading and hopefully on a deeper level to create that lifelong love of reading that we're all trying to foster. Book Connections is a part of the TeachingBooks family. It's the public library interface. So it's going to be the same resources available on TeachingBooks if you're familiar with that site, but they're just organized with a public library audience in mind. Access to TeachingBooks and Book Connections is provided to all schools, colleges, residents, and of course, public libraries in the state of Indiana through Inspire, which is a service of the Indiana State Library. So thank you to them for making this possible. Book Connections is for your patrons, absolutely. Great database to have available. They can find resources that can help them become more engaged and empowered readers. But it's also for you as library staff. There are tools on the site that can augment the work you're already doing. So we're going to be talking about all of the things we're talking about today through both of those lenses. These are tools that you can use to do readers advisory, whether it's at a desk, creating displays or recommended lists, and also for helping your patrons learn to do their own readers advisory, essentially find books for their own recommendation needs. And now I'm going to hand it over to Crystal for.
Yes, we always like to begin these webinars with just a little resource to give you a taste of what we're going to be exploring today. So when you go to the Book Connections homepage, you will see a magnifying glass over here in the right corner. I'm going to select that, and I'm just going to start searching for a title. You'll notice as I start searching, it will look for books, authors, lists, and subjects. I'm actually going to select See All Books because none of these are the ones I'm looking for. So once I select here, you'll see more titles with that same keyword of allergic. And this is the one I'm going to select right here. What we're going to listen to today to start us off is a Meet the Author recording. And a Meet the Author recording on Book Connections, is like a book talk, just a way better book talk than I could ever do because the author's book talking their book. So when you're thinking about readers advisory, what a great way to give your readers a little taste and get them excited about a new book, maybe one they wouldn't normally even be interested in, but is a good match for them. So we're going to select this Meet the Author recording here, and we're going to listen to a little bit.
Hi, I'm Megan Wagner-Lloyd, and I'm the author of Allergic.
Hi, I'm Michelle Mee Nutter, and I'm the illustrator of Allergic.
I was inspired to write Allergic because, like Maggie, I'm allergic to all animals with fur or feathers, and I was growing up, and I never thought this could make a good book until I started going to visit kids at schools with my other books, and one of the facts I would share about myself is that I'm allergic to animals, and I found that kids were really interested in this. And also a lot of kids have their own allergies. And so that's gave me the idea that this could be something that kids could really connect with. And so I wrote Allergic to not share my exact experiences because it is fiction and Maggie is different than me, but to, through Maggie, show some of the experiences of a kid who is allergic to animals.
And for me, as the illustrator, I don't have allergies myself like Maggie, but I fell in love with Megan's writing and how she was able to translate something that affects so many kids in such a way that was beautiful and inspiring, and it gave a lot of information as well.
I'm going to pause it there. I just love the idea of connecting to your readers. And there's so many readers that do have allergies. What a great way to have that connection and kind of realize that it's not just them by themselves. This book is on your Young Hoosier Book Award for 23-24. We have a whole bunch of resources for your different Indiana State Book Awards, and we will be showing you those a little bit later in this webinar. We just wanted to give you a taste to start off. But what we want to do before we jump into really exploring more resources is make sure that you know how to get logged in correctly with Book Connections. When you go to Book Connections, it will probably welcome you as Indiana resident. Mine says Indiana State Libraries Inspire, but when you go, if you're not logged in, it will probably say welcome Indiana resident. And that is fine. That gives you access to all of our resources, but you don't have the ability to customize and save things. And we're going to show you how to do that today. So we want to make sure you are logged in correctly when you access Book Connections. To do that, if you go to bookconnections.org and then select the 3-line toggle menu in the upper left corner, you will see a professional login option right above sign out. And this is where you're going to want to make sure you select. It will give you the option to input your work email. And then when you select sign in, if you've ever signed in with Book Connections before, it will know that and it will prompt you for a password. If you forgot your password, you can reset it here. But if you haven't ever signed in before, it will take you to a quick registration page. And then once you've completed registration, you'll know you're signed in correctly because it will say welcome in your name. And I'm signed in as Susanna. I'm Crystal, that's Susanna, but we're presenting together, so I'm signed in as her today. But you will see your name on there, and that's what we want to make sure you see. If you guys want to take about 1 or 2 minutes and go ahead and do that, that would be great, because we always want to make sure that you're able to get in correctly, just because we will be giving you a little bit of explore time later, and we want to make sure you're able to do what we're going to show you, which you will need to be logged in as professionals to do that. So why don't we take about 2 minutes, 10:09, and then we'll come back and proceed with the rest of our exploration. If you have any problems with the login part, go ahead and write it in the chat and we'll make sure that we get you in correctly. But also, if you can let us know that you're in, you see welcome in your name, that'd be great. Just give us an I'm in or a thumbs up in the chat. That would be awesome.
And Beth just shared the Inspire link in the chat there as well, which is another way to get to Teaching Books and Book Connections.
Thank you, Beth. Okay, it looks like we're getting people that are got in, no problem. Love that.
Ideal.
So that was just a couple of minutes. It looks like those of you who are working on getting logged in haven't had any problems. If you do have problems, we'll have more explore time later, and we'll help you if you have some challenges as you're trying to get in, and we'll make sure we get you in correctly. Because again, we just want to make sure you're signed in as a professional on Book Connections and that it says welcome and your name in that upper left corner. We are now going to go show some more resources for you and do a little exploration.
All right. So, reader's advisory. There are a lot of different ways that you can find books to recommend on Book Connections, but one of my favorites is the one we're going to start with. And the easiest way to demonstrate this is we're just going to search a popular title. So we're going to go back to that magnifying glass search bar that Crystal was in earlier, and we're going to search for Dog Man. Dog Man is always popular. And we're just going to pick that very first Dog Man there. And this is what a book page is going to look like. You saw earlier with allergic that these are all going to be laid out the same way. And so in the same spot on every page, you're going to see another little magnifying glass that says discover like books. It's going to be right there under that annotation or description of the book. And when we click on discover like books, this gives us a whole lot of different ways that books could be like Dog Man. And so what I really love about this is that it not only is a great tool to find other books similar to Dog Man, it's a great tool to get your patrons started thinking about what exactly it is they're looking for. So not only are we saying, here's books that are similar, we're saying, how similar? Are they books by the same author? Are they other books in the series? Are they books with that same classification? Are they looking for humor or graphic novels? Maybe they're looking for a subject. Maybe it's dogs or police. And you can see here we've got other books that have won the same awards, other books on the same book lists, and other books with similar Lexile levels as well. So there's just a whole lot of ways to think about recommendation and reader's advisory here. And we can click on any of these. So we're going to say maybe today we're thinking about finding similar humor books. So we'll pick that genre classification and go to humor. And we've got our whole humor collection here, but this is, over 10,000 titles. That's still an overwhelming amount. That's way too many. So we have a whole collection of filters on the left-hand side there. And these are going to allow you, anytime you're searching or browsing, to really narrow it down and get exactly what you're looking for. So in this particular instance, we're going to narrow by grade level. We're going to say we're looking for something for grades 1 to 5. And then maybe we're looking for more graphic novels. We want humor and graphic novels. So we're going to pick a second genre category there and go with graphic novels. And we've still got a whole lot. There's still 400 results there. But this is the point where I would maybe start scrolling a little bit and seeing what's available. Obviously, we've got all of the Dog Man books, but then you get down a little bit further and we've got some things like the Lunch Lady series. We've got the Narwhal, Unicorn of the Sea, Tiger versus Nightmare. The Noodlehead series is a great one to recommend, I think, in this particular instance. So you just got a lot of options right there already. So this is one way, and we could go into any of these books and just keep going. Those would have their own Discover Like Books page. You could just keep going down the rabbit hole. Just very easy to do. But it's a fabulous starting point, I think, especially when you come in and you've got that patron who says, I have this book that I just read and I want something else like it. But there are also a lot of other ways that we can use these kind of searching and browsing features. So let's go back up to the top here. And with search, we can also just do a subject search. So we'll go back to that magnifying glass, and this time we're just going to search spies. Maybe here we're putting together a display or a recommended themed list. And so we're going to go over on the far right there, we've got subjects, and we're just going to pick spies off of there. And again, that's kind of a lot of results. So we're going to filter, let's do grades 4 to 8 this time in our filter options. And this time we're going to do one of the ones we didn't do before. So maybe this is something where you're really interested in highlighting more recent books. So let's go to year published. It's one of our options there. You can do current year, but that's not going to be very many because it's early in the year. So we'll do past 3 years. So this is going back to 2020. And then we've just got 24. So that's a more manageable number to say, okay, here are some really great recent books in that spies subject category. And we can see here, again, we've got some recurring series. We've got the City Spies series. We've got Stuart Gibbs' Spy School. And so there's some ways to kind of connect those dots, but there's also some other things here that are from different authors that we might want to recommend.
And can I jump in right there, Susanna? Because you mentioned the series. Anytime you are thinking of a series, like we have City Spies here, If you want series information, that's also on all of our book pages on Book Connections. You'll see the title and author information at the top, but then it will tell you what series it's from and what book it is. And then if you go to the actual series page, you'll see the books in order, which I love. And I know Susanna loves this too, because we always get those readers who love book one and want to read book two. And then we're like, but what's book two? And sometimes they aren't labeled that way. Well, here on Book Connections, you will see that. So you can even send them here and let them browse some of the resources, and they'll see what book two is and go through that as well.
Absolutely.
And we
All
have
right.
a question in the chat that says, can you show us again how you got to that advanced search or filter for those who were still getting logged in? So filtering, yes, we can go back. What we did is we just searched for a title and then we did a subject search, whichever works. What we just did was spies. So when you want to search, you're going to go to the magnifying glass over here in the upper right corner. You select that. We just selected spies, and then it will show you books, authors, lists, and subjects. And we selected the spies subject here. And all Susanna did from there was choose the filter options on the left side. Whenever you go to a collection or a subject search, you will see filter results on that left side. So you can narrow down more easily to what you are looking for and what is going to meet the needs of your patrons and readers.
Absolutely. And so we're actually going to show one more way to kind of browse and then filter. So we'll look at those filters again here. Let's go to browse up in our navigation bar at the top there. Browse is one of my very favorites on the site. You have the option here to look at all of the books on the site, but that's upwards of, I think, 85,000 titles at this point. So we're not going to do that right now. But we are going to open that See All Collections menu there. And this is going to give, essentially, these are all of those filters we were just looking at. This is all of those options in one place. So we're going to see the different grade level options, curricular areas, genres, cultural experience, and even by resource type. We're able to see all of those laid out here. So this is a great place to get started searching as well. From here, let's take a look at, we haven't done an older grade book yet. So let's take a look at our 7 to 12 collection for our teen patrons. Again, this is a ton of titles, so we're going to go back to those filter results. So from here, let's pick a genre. Let's go with mysteries this time. Always popular. You know, we could choose a curricular area. Let's look at some of the other options for types of filter that we have there. Cultural experience, we could narrow if we wanted to, if we were thinking about a particular kind of diversity hole to fill. But let's look at awards and distinctions. Maybe we want some really high quality mysteries. Let's do recent award winners. We could pick a specific award, but this is just going to give us titles that have recently won an award. So that's a nice selection there.
You'll see your filters up here too. Sorry, Susanna, to jump in there. I was just going to say, you can see which filters you've used up here. If you filtered too far in and you ended up with 0 results or 1, you can always just select the X here and start over if you want to. Yeah, you don't have to start over completely either. You can take one out and just go back a layer, which is always really nice. But I really like this search. We've got 4 fabulous mysteries up top there and some other great options as well. And so maybe this is something where I want to save this for later. Maybe I'm creating a recommended list of mysteries that I want to send out as a book list. Maybe I'm saving this for a teen display or offering this as a list to pick from to my teen mystery book club. There's a whole bunch of different things you could do with this. And so we're going to create a list. This is one of those things that you can only create and save a list if you're logged in as a professional. So that's one of those reasons we wanted you to make sure you were logged in. And we could add these titles one by one. Under each book cover, you're going to see that little plus sign icon that says add to reading list.
But we've also got our plus sign with add multiple titles to reading list at the top of the list there. And so we're going to select that today. We could select all of these titles, but let's just pick maybe the first 10 or so. We don't want to overwhelm ourselves with options. And those are some great ones right off the bat there. We'll do add selected titles to a list. And so you can see here, there's some other lists that have been created on my account, but we're going to create a new list and put a name in there. We'll call this Teen Mysteries, whatever we want to call it. And then we'll hit add to list. We could go straight in from this pop-up and edit or view, but I want to show you where this is going to live forever on your account. And that's going to be back in that 3-line toggle menu there. And then we'll go to your reading lists. And you'll see we've got a few list categories here that we'll dive into a little bit later. But we'll scroll down to your custom reading lists, which is what we just created. And you'll see our Teen Mysteries list there at the top. So let's open that list up. And there's a few things I want to share here. So there's a lot you can do with lists. But for our recommendation purposes today, one of the most important of those is sharing. So up in the left corner there, we've got our share arrow. And when we open that up, this is going to give us a whole bunch of different ways to share something from Book Connections. So we've got a sharing URL. So the really important thing to note here is that nobody, to see this list, if you use these sharing tools, nobody's going to have to worry about signing in, finding the list. It's going to take them straight there and give them immediate access, no matter where they are. So we've got that sharing link. We've got the option to share on digital platforms down at the bottom. So you could email this list to a colleague or a patron. You can drop it straight into your calendar, which I love. Remind yourself that you were going to use this list, 3 months down the line for a program you were planning. You can put it on social media, recommend lists that way if you've got an active Facebook page or Twitter account. And then we have our QR code printables. So for lists like this, I really love the bookmark option. So let's take a look at that. These are ready to print. You just cut them up and hand them out. Maybe they are, again, handing them out at your book club. Maybe these are sitting on a desk, waiting to be picked up by patrons who are interested. But it's got not only a QR code that will take them directly to this list we just created, but there's also a link there that they can visit if they don't have a device that allows them to scan the QR code. So super easy way to get patrons connected with these lists you're creating.
Yep. And can I show real quick, Susanna, we do have some pictures of how librarians have used our printables in their libraries. So one example, these are the bookmarks, just hanging the bookmarks in the book so that your patrons have access. They can scan the code or go to the link. They'll be taken directly to the resource you're sharing or list that you're sharing with them. And they can do this at home, in the library, wherever they are, they will have direct access. Here's what we call our shelf talkers, and we'll show you those a little bit later, but these just hang over the edge of the book or the edge of a shelf. You can make a space a little more interactive and let your patrons enjoy listening from the authors or viewing a book trailer. Here are just some printed bookmarks. And then we also have labels. So if you're thinking about a book that you have multiple copies of, you can print labels and the labels will live in that book. So whoever checks that book out will have access to a resource that you have chosen with that QR code or that link. And lastly, we love our indoor-outdoor option. Maybe you have some patrons that come early every day and they're waiting. Well, you can have something like this in the windows. They can scan these QR codes and listen to some of these resources as they wait for the library to open. This is just a picture of how these were attached on the back, but a great idea for an interactive indoor-outdoor space as well.
Thank you, Crystal. All right, so there's just two more things I want to share on this particular list that we're looking at, and then we'll move on a little bit. So one of them is you also have the option to embed a list. So if you would like to share a recommended list on your website, we have code. So if we click on that, it's going to give you a super short amount of code there that you can just drop in. And then if you scroll down, you can see what the embedded view is going to look like. It's just going to have this list by itself framed out. So if you have a website that will allow you to do this, it's a great way to get those directly into spaces online that your patrons are already interacting with.
Yes, and what I love about embedding these lists directly on your site is you can then, you don't have to tell your patrons, oh, go to bookconnections.org and you'll see this resource. This will be on your site. They'll click into it, and what will happen is a new tab opens, and then they're taken straight to Book Connections already logged in. Like it will say welcome in, and it will probably say Indiana resident or your library name there. But I love the idea of not having to tell them to go open up another site because it's already sitting right there on your site.
Absolutely. All right, one more thing, back to our teen mysteries list.
Okay, go here, remember 3-line toggle menu and your reading list. And I do see the questions in the chat. We're about at explore time and we'll make sure we answer those.
Absolutely. All right, so one more thing that I love to think about, particularly when we're thinking about reader's advisory, a lot of times it can be useful to think about the specifics of the why, the specifics about a book. And so one of the things that you can do with lists is you can scroll down here and we'll see that under each title, you have the option to add a note. So you can click to add a note there. And you can just leave yourself a little bit of information about, you know, what you're thinking about this book for, or some more, you could say, you know, this is a Indigenous story, you know, whatever notes that you want to have to remind yourself about the book. And those notes will carry over if you share the list with someone, so they will be able to see the information that you want to share as well.
So we have some great questions in the chat. And one question was, is it only professionals who can create lists? Actually, no. If your patrons want to log in, they'll be like welcomed by your library name. They can create a list, but it will not save. So they can create a list, and then what you'd want to show them to do under your reading list here is have that link. Make sure you're using those sharing options so that they can access that. You would have the link or the printable for the bookmark. The reason we do not save patron information is for privacy purposes. We don't save any patron information, and that's why only professionals can create a list and have it be saved. Now, if they wanted to create a list and see it right then and there, they can, like I said, and they could print a bookmark and have access to it that way. But once the computer shuts down for the day and reopens the next day, that list will not be saved.
The one caveat I want to mention to that is we do call this professional login, but if you have adult patrons who are using this in a context where they really need these tools, if you have homeschool parents who really want to be able to create lists for their kids or for their own purposes, they can create a professional login. They're welcome to do that. The biggest thing about the login is that we're not encouraging its use for patrons under 18 because we don't want to worry about saving the privacy saving lists for anyone who is a minor.
And
so
we did have,
sorry, go ahead. Can they email themselves the link, or does it only work if it is saved? As long as they have that link, so they can take that sharing link and email it to themselves, save it in a note, whatever works.
So if they go to the share option, you would just have to show them to do the share option. They can email this link to themselves, and that would be the share link that they have access to. I don't believe they would be able to email from here because you have to be logged in as a professional to actually email. So they would have to copy this link and then email themselves the link. Any other questions about lists? We want to give you a little bit of explore time. So how about 5 minutes at 10:35? We'll come back This is a great time if you have more questions, we'll answer more questions, but we'd love to have you like browse lists. Remember, if you're just doing subject search, you can always use this magnifying glass. Go ahead and browse some lists we have here on Book Connections. If you want to practice sharing, try sharing in the chat. So you can select the share option. It can be one we have here, or you can create one, copy the link here, and just try sharing it in the chat so you practice accessing the sharing options. And there's the link to our mysteries one that we just created. And if there's ever a list that somebody has created, maybe your colleague created a list and you'd like a copy of that, you always have the option if you open a list to duplicate it right here. So please share. Again, at 4 more minutes, 10:35, we will come back. We'll be quiet so that you can actually explore on your own. 10:35, come back here. Just kidding, stay here. Stay here, and then we'll go on to our next part of exploration. Yes, the webinar is not over. We just like to give you a little bit of time to process what we just showed you and
this
explore.
Is to test
We're
things
still
out.
going though.
Search your favorite book and see what it gives you for Discover Like books, but then be sure to come back.
Just over a minute left of explore time. Again, if there are any more questions or as you're exploring, you find something really cool, please feel free to share it in the chat. We love to see what interests and excites y'all, because that's how we can plan the resources we share too. So we have a question in the chat. Are the titles in searching only linked to youth and teens? I'm not sure what exactly, let's see, are the titles? Can you give me a little more information on what you're asking for, Brianne, there, so I can maybe show it up here on the screen? Love that you shared a list of dystopian books, Jonathan. Wonderful. Oh, okay. So what titles or what age groups do we serve? I guess I'm guessing is maybe what that question was. I'm going to show you a great place to see the different like ours are separated by grade levels, not necessarily age groups, but that'll give you an idea of the titles and the population we primarily serve for Book Connections. If you go to browse here, you can do see all books, and this is going to take a second to load because we have so many books, but hang on one second. Once this opens, I can show you how the collection is set up and by what grade levels.
And our audience, it really is youth services. So it is
Yes.
going to be books for children and teens.
Yep.
The exception to that is that sometimes we have adult titles that are popular or used with upper grades in the classroom. So there are going to be some adult books mixed in, but not a lot.
Yes. Yep. So I just came to our all books section, and then you can see here how many titles with resources we have available within different age groups. But like Susanna said, this is for youth services. Let's go ahead and learn some more, go and explore a little bit more. So in addition to creating your own lists, other recommended lists on Book Connections can help with Reader's Advisory as well. There's different categories you can search. One way you can search is by state. So if I type in Indiana, you'll see under lists, awards, and series, I have the option to see all lists we have available. And you can see 2023 lists as we scroll down. You'll see all the different, and it's actually picking up Indian too there because I selected Indiana, but what you'll see are your Indiana lists. I know if we scroll down, you'll even see we already have the 23-24 Who's Your Book Award list on here as well, because thankfully we have a great team of librarians on our content team, and they are on top of getting these awards updated as soon as they come out. So you can always search by keyword, state, other terms like that for lists if you're looking specifically for lists. You also can do, if you do search here, because it's almost April, which is my favorite month because Poetry Month is my favorite, I'm just going to select poetry here. This might give you some ideas for if you want to create some displays for National Poetry Month. You can type poetry here and it will take you to our poetry collection. Or you can see all the lists that we have available, award lists for poetry. So we can do see all lists here. And if I want to open up one of these, I can open up colorful poetry. And what I love about this is if we already have some lists on here, whether it's award lists or lists created by other sites and other partners, you can go over here and then still filter. So if you wanted to create a poetry display to promote reading of poetry for April, you could use a list like this, but then maybe go down to your filter results over here, and let's do resource type because you're trying to promote that reading some of these and getting your readers excited about reading some of these poetry titles. Under resource type, maybe we look for those Meet the Author recordings. That's what I showed you at the very beginning. I always call them a book talk, but it's the author book talking their book. And you'll see from this list, there are 7 titles that have Meet the Author recordings. So you could feature these or showcase these. Let's click into one. And you'll see the Meet the Author. Oh, this is a Meet the Illustrator recording. So it could be author or illustrator, but they're talking about that background and inspiration for creating the book. We open this up. We can press play. Let's listen to a little bit of this.
Hi, this is Christopher Myers. I illustrated the book Jazz. When I was a kid, my favorite jazz songs were the ones where they took a familiar tune and then made another song from the skeleton of that tune. Like My Favorite Things by John Coltrane, or My Sharia More, which Rashawn Roland Kirk, who's got to be one of my top jazz artists, did a version of. So then in the song, he takes Stevie Wonder's song, My Cherie Amour, and you know that one, and then he makes his own version of it. He makes it his in his own way. So for the pictures in this book, I wanted to do something similar, to have a skeleton and then work the illustration around that. So all the black ink in the book I did separately on a piece of acetate, which is like see-through paper, and that functions as my skeleton.
I'm going to pause it there. I love listening to the illustrators talk about how they created it. And we have some videos too, and they actually will create an illustration as they're being recorded. So another great way to just kind of hook your readers. We did have a great question in the chat about theoretically you could use the resources here to help with purchases. Absolutely. This is a reader's advisory webinar, but I will show you one thing because it doesn't take very long. I do want to show you the mystery list that we just created. Remember, if you go to this 3-line toggle menu and go to the mystery list, one thing that can really help with purchases is our list analysis. So if we go into this teen mysteries list that Susanna had found based on recently award-winning books, on any list, ones you create, ones you see on the site, up here in the upper right corner, there's going to be a list analysis report. And this is where it could really help you with the purchasing. Because if you open this, it will tell you what's represented and what's not represented in your list. Culturally, genre, qualitative, quantitative measures. We love that idea of being able to see how much is fiction versus nonfiction, Lexile, but year published, and then cultural experience too. So if you were trying to make a purchase and you wanted to make sure it reflected a diverse set of cultural experiences, this might be where to look. And then you can see what's represented, but then you can also see what's down here at the bottom, what's not included. So something to add to your purchase list if you are trying to reach those different readers, make sure they see themselves, they see others in some of the purchases that you're making.
This is also a great tool for thinking about what's in your displays, what books are you sharing in book clubs or story times. There's really a lot of great uses for this, absolutely.
Yeah, great thought and question. And again, that list analysis report will be up in the upper right corner of any list that either you create or that's already on the site. So now I just want, but we're going to show you some more resources just so you can get an idea of the different type of resources we have here on Book Connections, and then we'll open up again for more questions. Before I start doing some resources, we're going to be doing book trailers, meet the author recordings, some audio excerpts. I'm going to show you some different ones. Before I go on to that, are there any questions about searching and finding lists or how to filter within those lists before we move on to exploring and listening and viewing some of these resources? How often are the lists updated to keep with trends? So great question. This is where our content team is amazing. They keep up to date with all the lists, all the awards. Like I think we had awards this year and the lists were already created by the end of the day. So thankfully we have a whole team who keeps up with the lists and the trends and are constantly looking for more lists to add from our partners as well. Okay, if you come up with more questions, again, just put them in the chat. We'll go ahead and start some real fun exploration of different resources that we want to feature so you can go away with some ideas of maybe how to showcase some titles for Reader's Advisory. If you're featuring certain titles, if you know that there's a reader who loves this genre, well, maybe they need to listen to this, book trailer or meet the author recording so that they have another book in mind. So here are some of the different types of resources here on Book Connections. One thing we have our Meet the Author recordings. You've already heard 2 of those. Those are like the book talks, but the author is doing that book talk. So you get to hear that background and inspiration for the book. So let's listen to some different ones. The first one I'm going to have you listen to is a fictional title, Legendborn. And Meet the Author recordings will be, Meet the Author or Meet the Illustrator recordings will be featured up here at the top. But if for some reason you're not seeing it, they're always under our original resources too. You'll see them here. So if we select the Meet the Author recording, we're going to go ahead and play this.
Hi, my name is Tracy Dion, and I'm the author of Legendborn. Legendborn became an idea for a book not long after I lost my own mother. The main character in the book, Bree, loses her mother early on in the story and then finds out throughout that her mother lost her own mother, and the same happened with her grandmother and great-grandmother. So she has this unusual pattern in her family, and she moves forward to try and find out what the source of that pattern could be. That happened to me in real life, but as a storyteller and of course as a science fiction and fantasy author, I immediately came up with a magical solution, and that's how I began writing the book Legendborn.
I'm going to pause it there just so you know, any of these excerpts or Meet the Author recording, anything that has a transcript here, the transcript can be translated. We have a Google Translate feature. You can translate this in the header. I think my thing's too big to translate it from here. But you can translate the site as a whole. I have it zoomed in so much. Let me see if I can get out. There we go. I had it zoomed in so far you couldn't see that. Here it is. You can select a language. Maybe you have an Arabic population at your library that you're trying to really speak to. Well, you can select Arabic here. You'll see with these resources, it will translate actually the site into Arabic, but when you're playing, the author still speaks
My favorite part about Legendborn is creating
in English. So you have the option to translate. And then if you share anything, like if you shared a bookmark, and let me select bookmark specifically for this title or any title or resource that you're looking at. If you want to, even if you want to translate the bookmark, you can. If you were trying to do that for a specific population that you're thinking of for your library, you can do that and then print them that way. So this was a Meet the Author recording from a fiction title. Let's go look at a nonfiction title. Rise and Fall of Charles Lindbergh. Again, you'll see that Meet the Author recording up here, featured up here. We're going to just hear a little bit of the difference between the research that she's done and then the connections that our other author made too.
Hi, my name is Candace Fleming, and I'm the author of The Rise and Fall of Charles Lindbergh. Can I tell you a secret? I hadn't planned on writing a biography of Charles Lindbergh. In truth, I didn't think he was all that interesting. Sure, I knew he'd been the first person to fly nonstop across the Atlantic, but that feat, it really didn't interest me. At first, what I wanted to write about was the Lindbergh baby kidnapping. I wanted to examine the mystery of that stolen toddler. I wanted to decipher the puzzle of it all. But as I researched, I kept uncovering all these crazy, weird, never-told truths about Charles Lindbergh. Like, when he went to college, his mother went with him. Seriously, she went with him so she could do his cooking, clean his laundry, and she even wrote his papers. And he still flunked out of college.
So I love hearing the differences of these between the fiction, the nonfiction, the research that went into the nonfiction, and then the connection that she made and the reasoning for creating her book for the fictional title. So a great way, again, to give a little taste and promote and showcase, maybe feature some titles that wouldn't normally be checked out even. Another resource that we have available on here is we do have book trailers. We've done our best to embed them on our site. So even if they're in YouTube, your patrons won't be taken to YouTube to view them. They'll stay in Book Connections. And I'm going to search for all 13. And you'll see the video book trailer is featured up here, but I just want to show you where those are located as well. If that's something you're looking for, if you go to any book page and scroll down toward the bottom, you'll see book trailers. And again, any of these resources can be freely shared. You'll see that share arrow for all of them.
Hey, this is Christina, and I'm the author of All 13, The Incredible Cave Rescue of the Thai Boys Soccer Team. And in these videos, I'm sharing some of my favorite things about the book and some of the things I'm most excited for you to read. So one thing I want you to know is that there is a ton of cool science and engineering in this book. In fact, the entire rescue operation was really one massive engineering problem. And I'm an engineer by training, and one of the things that I loved about writing this story is that this was a perfect example of how science, or STEM, was used in real life. You know, so often we think of these subjects as just things we have to learn in school, but here in this rescue you have geology, you have meteorology, you have hydrology and engineering, and you have the science of scuba diving, which involves a lot of chemistry and physics. And you also have the biology of what happens to your body when you're trapped underground or when you're diving far below the water.
I'm going to pause it there. So interesting. What a great way to, if you're promoting some science, if you're featuring STEM engineering, what a great way to, again, give your readers that taste. And another thing we have here on Book Connections we have audio excerpts, and then we also have some complete book readings. So if I search for Milo Imagines the World, you'll see up here, it shows our audio excerpts and some video book reading, video book trailer. I'm going to show you where to find those book readings. When you scroll down, you'll see book readings right above book trailers. You can see we have 2 complete video readings and then 1 audio excerpt. So if we wanted to just do an audio excerpt as a very short little taste, we could do that. And this is what this will look like. You'll have the transcript and a narrator.
What begins as a slow, distant glow grows and grows into a tired train that clatters down the tracks.
I'm going to pause that. But then, especially when we're thinking of maybe some of our youngest patrons, maybe they go home and don't have somebody to help them read. Well, you can always share a complete reading with them. What a great way to get them interested in the title. But this complete reading is also done by the author.
Hello everyone, my name is Matt De La Pena and I write books for young people. I write novels and picture books, and today I'm thrilled to be here with you on Barnes & Noble Storytime to share a brand new book that's coming out in February called Milo Imagines the World.
Again, these are freely shareable. So here's your share option. There's not a copyright infringement to share these because of our partnerships with the publisher. So you have the option to share from here. You could print the bookmark and send, that book home with with a patron or a reader, depending on who wants it, or you can do it even in the library too. Last thing I want to show you is the option to use Google Preview as a quick way to see if a book is a good match or see if it's something that a reader is interested in. They might have an idea of what they want to read. We always say this for Reader's Advisory. They think they know what they want to read and then they open it. That's not it at all. So we're kind of detectives and we're figuring out what they want to read. This is a good way to let them start a title and see what it's about to really get an idea if that's something that is a good match for them. If I go to my magnifying glass, type in fighting words, we can open the title here. And one thing, if it is available, we have Google previews for the books. Some of them, it's a page, but for this one, it's the first 5 chapters. That's a great amount of text to decide if that's a good match or not. So a great option for those readers who think they know what they want but aren't sure. They can come to Google Preview, scroll through here, and again, this goes through the first 5 chapters.
I love all of these resources that Crystal's been sharing, both as a way to share books with your patrons, get them a little bit of a preview, get them hooked on something, that kind of book tasting, but also as a way for library staff to keep up with all of the books on your shelves. Maybe, there's some great ones that you haven't gotten a chance to read yourself yet, but you want to hear a little bit more about them, learn a little bit more about them so you can recommend them more accurately. I also really love this as a way to think about ways to encourage your patrons to put books on hold. Maybe it's a title you really, really think they're going to love, but you don't have it on the shelf at the moment. So you can give them that little taste, enough to get them excited enough to put it on hold and come back for it.
Absolutely. Y'all, we are almost out of time. Really quickly, if you ever have questions, you can freely reach out to Susanna or myself. She can put our emails in the chat. We'll also put the certificate in the chat. We do have an help option. If you go to the magnifying glass and just type help, you'll come to our help page. You can see there's trainings, video tutorials, and then a contact us button there. But again, we'll put our emails in the chat as well. Thank you so much for joining us for this using Book Connections for Readers Advisory Workshop. We are going to stop the recording